Hello and welcome to another update video about Cardano. Cardano is one of the more interesting crypto charts at the moment. When we arrived here at that 126 level, we talked about here a potential pullback to a US dollar, to $1, and this is happening, yeah, and a potential inverse head and shoulders, and that seems to be exactly happening at the moment. Now, the inverse head and shoulders isn't formed yet, but we're in the process of forming it. So we have come down now pretty much to the dollar level, and we are starting to accumulate again, yeah? So we're going to go into the shorter time frame in a minute. Showed you yesterday here this descending wedge as a potential reversal pattern, and I think it's looking like that we are getting a breakout here at the moment, but we don't have the volume. So bear in mind, on a weekend, typically, everything like patterns and so on is a bit less, or is a bit more unpredictable. Markets move a little bit less predictable, a little bit less than they normally should do because you have a less volume. So it is easier also for, yeah, let's say whales to manipulate the market. You have less volume, so if you have a certain breakout pattern or if you have a certain trade setup, it sometimes just doesn't work out on a weekend, and therefore some people just don't trade at all on the weekend, yeah, because it's more risky. So if we have a breakout on the weekend out of such a pattern, yeah, it can just not work out. But then again, Monday is tomorrow, so we'll see. But here you've got this potential reversal pattern. Of course, this doesn't lead to anything until we break above 126. That would be the neckline, and this would mean that here you should see significant movement if we break above that 126 level. So if we just take the price target of that inverse head and shoulders, which would be here also this the height of the actual head, then we can add that to the neckline, and that could take us to around $1.78. Now I'm always a bit skeptical or a bit careful with these price targets purely based on on the height of head of a pattern or whatever, but yes, they sometimes work out, and it's just good for orientation, isn't it? So this is what we could see. We also talked yesterday about this the descending wedge. You had a descending wedge like that down here in March, and we broke out of that and made this nice accumulation pattern, yeah. And if this happens here, you get a perfect inverse head and shoulders. Now we also had this larger descending wedge here that we talked about, and also we broke out of that. But the price target of that is not yet reached. That would be reached around 163. The reason for that is that normally you say the target of a descending wedge, or a wedge anyway, if you break out of it, would be the beginning of the wedge. So we haven't reached it yet, but also, you know, nothing moves in a straight line. So we are on our way to it, I think. And if we really do this, this bullish reversal pattern, that can certainly take us and then also fulfill the target of that larger descending wedge. So if we zoom in into the shorter time frames here, you can see that there's a good chance that we actually, well, yeah, we did break out, didn't we? Did break out, closed the 4-hour candle above that descending wedge. We're now retesting it, and the next move, this is what I'm waiting for. And the next move, if we get the volume though, we need volume now, then this could really push the price higher. If you don't get the volume, it could just trickle sideways, we could just move sideways, could move down again, could break back into it again. And here, what we did, and that was here down there in March, we also broke out of it. But you can see when we broke out of it, after that, you actually saw an increase in volume. It took a while, but you actually saw a significant increase in volume. So it already happened after that. You saw a volume spike here. Yeah, after we moved in, when you normally are getting into the apex of such a pattern, the volume decreases, yeah, because the price is getting squeezed, and after it increased straight away. So we would need to see, ideally, something like that as well, maybe to a little bit of a smaller degree because it's a smaller pattern, but you would want to see volume as well, and then you can start after that retest, start to move up from here. That would be the ideal case, but I wouldn't be surprised if today, because it's weekend, we're just moving sideways, and then maybe from tomorrow we start to go up. That would be interesting, and that then would work out perfectly. This, in my opinion, is gonna work out as long as we are above 96, 97 cents. Yeah, the reason I say this level and not the dollar level is because this is the 61.8% Fib level, the most relevant Fibonacci retracement level, and I wouldn't be surprised if we actually retest that once more, maybe just with a wick down. And also you can see here that we've got the 50-day moving average coming sideways here, and that will also provide support. Now, if you lose that, then I think, and we have to be honest, then I think we can easily see those lows again. There is not too much support and resistance in this range here between the 97-cent level and the 75-cent level. I think below that, if we drop below the 50-day moving average, I think we can expect a drop down to the previous low at 75 cents. And that would be a 22% drop. And if you go there, then you are pretty much one step away from that 55-cent target that I originally talked about. That does not need to be reached to complete the correction, because Cardano did what it needs to do. The minimum requirements are fulfilled to complete this current correction. So as told you, at any time Cardano can now start to move up after it really started to correct, or after it has been correcting for half a year. Yeah, the minimum requirements in terms of an ABC correction and the Fibonacci levels have been reached. So from that point of view, it's all good. Yeah, it can turn around. But at the moment, until we break 163, I told you that as well, until we really get above that level, the downside potential still is very much there. So this risk of potential more downside is still very, very much there for Cardano. But at the moment, yeah, we are in this interesting positive or bullish reversal pattern. So just want to make you aware of that, and let's see how that works out. If we get the volume now, this could be an interesting trade setup, because from that breakout, the target would be that 126 level. Bear in mind, it's a weekend, be a bit careful, and we are just retesting it now. Maybe we see a little bit more on the 1 hour chart. And here you can see this. Yeah, we're coming down, retesting, haven't really touched it yet. Maybe we will. So we could come down a little bit more, maybe to $1.03, yeah, and then turn around. I think we see here just the decision, do we already go up from here, which was at pretty much the previous highs. So you're basically, what you're doing here at the moment, you're retesting those previous highs, yeah. And if we drop below that, that's not a problem. Then we could touch the trend line once more. But to be fair, here on the 1 hour chart, I can even move that line a little bit lower. It all depends if you use the wicks or not. So if I don't use the wicks here on the 1 hour chart, yes, then we have it like that. And then we could even drop a little bit lower, could even drop once more to $1.02 for a retest before we start to move up. So there is more downside potential because we haven't really retested it yet. So if we come down to $1.02 and then really start from here, that would be possible. Of course, you could also just here retest the previous highs, but it wouldn't really necessarily mean a retest of the pattern. But equally, after a breakout, you can start. You don't necessarily need to do a retest. It's more for, to be more certain that the move to the upside is working out. So yeah, interesting, but we don't have the volume yet. So interestingly, on the 4 hour chart, you also follow that bullish divergence that we saw yesterday, and you have a bullish crossover now on the MACD, indicating that the bulls are getting stronger. On the 8 hour chart, you continue to decrease negative momentum now. So it seems to be going the other way again. However, this has not translated over onto the daily. So until we see this on the daily, where we would want to expect a first light red bar, I think we still are at risk that this is not working out. Okay, that is my view here about Cardano. Hopefully you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then check out the channel membership. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.